Today on Vinyl Chef Steve, I'm going to show you how to make this amazing fire-roasted Hatch green chili and cheese homemade sourdough bread, and it's all from scratch. I don't recommend this recipe for beginners, but however, if you really want to give it a go, don't let me stop you. Even advanced individuals might find this a little problematic, but the results are far worth it. So it might come out or look like it's going to be a cheesy mess, but who doesn't love a cheesy mess? So it starts with 2 cups of chlorine-free water. That's any kind of good bottled water, and then 1.5 teaspoons to 2 teaspoons of good kosher salt or sea salt. And then we're going to dissolve that salt into the water. Once it's dissolved, we will go ahead and add our starter. So I fed my starter the morning of, and just to get it nice and lively, and it was looking good, so it's ready to be put into the water. And we're going to take a quarter cup measuring cup, and dig it in there and get as much down in there. Sometimes you have to push the starter down into there because it's so airy that it doesn't quite fill it up. And you'll know your starter's ready when it floats in the water once you get it out, as you'll see here in just a second. So we got it in the water, and there it is floating around. Now we're going to mix it into the water and get it all incorporated. It'll kind of melt away or melt down into the water, and that's when we want to start adding our flour. You're going to use 4 cups of either organic bread flour or even organic all-purpose flour will do the trick. That's what I'm using here today, organic all-purpose flour. So you're just going to mix this in, and the object here is to get all that dried flour to meet that moisture. And it takes a few minutes to work it all in. Just keep going until you get every little speck of loose flour incorporated into this shaggy mess we call a dough here. This is the beginning of the dough, and it looks nothing like a dough that would yield a nice loaf of bread, but there's a process here. So this is the beginning. So once you get it all incorporated, then we're going to add our cheese. Yeah, at this point we're going to add our cheese and then do our stretch and folds. You're going to need 6 ounces of cheddar and 6 ounces of Munster cheese. You can use Jack cheese. You can actually use any kind of cheese you want. And some people might think that 12 ounces of cubed cheese is a lot of cheese to go in this bread. Well, it is. But let me tell you, you'll see at the end why I choose. If you're going to make a cheese bread, make a cheese bread. It needs to taste of cheese. And here's the key ingredient. Your 1/3 cup of finely diced fire-roasted Hatch green chilies. We got that all in there, and now we got to go in with our hands, and we're going to mix it all together and get it incorporated as evenly as possible. It's a work, but it's the only way you're going to make this process work is to get it all evenly distributed. Now we're going to transfer our dough with all that mixture and cheese there, and we're going to let it rest for 20 minutes, covered with some saran wrap. Now we're going to come back and do our first pass of stretch and folds, and that's just stretching the dough over itself from corner to corner, and do that about 18 times and cover it with your saran wrap. And then you're going to wait another 20 minutes and come back and repeat 18 stretch and folds again, and then you will cover it once more. And when you come back 20 minutes later, you'll stretch and fold again. You can see how the dough's changing, how it's getting smooth and some moisture starting to develop in it, and it's coming together as a ball of dough. And once that's done, you're going to cover it with a final stretch and fold, and lights out for anywhere from 8 to 10 hours, depending on the temperature in your area. But that's what I got after 10 hours of bulk fermenting. So we're going to scrape it out of our bowl there with the scraper, and then you're going to pick it up, and this is just a crease fold. Pick it up, let it stretch down, drop it on itself, turn it, and then pick it up again, and drop it on itself. And now we're going to put it into our Banneton, heavily floured Banneton. And this is where our final proofing will take place, for about 2 hours. Anywhere from an hour and a half to 2 hours, I like to, depending on the temperature. This time I think it was about an hour and 45 minutes. Cover it with some loosely fit plastic, and then your oven should be preheated in that time for an hour, along with your clay baker in the oven. You got to have a hot clay baker. We're going to drop it in that hot clay baker, score the dough, put it in the oven at 475, covered for 30 minutes. Then we're going to remove the lid and bake for an additional 15 minutes. And there you have it. Nice cheesy sourdough bread with a nice crusty exterior. And one of the things I recommend is actually lining your clay baker with parchment paper. I didn't do it this time, and I had a difficult time getting it out. But there it is. A beautiful, nice, cheesy, crusty, slightly spicy, homemade sourdough bread, loaded with flavor and moisture and a nice, decent crumb. So I highly recommend you give this a try. It's definitely a little bit on the adventurous side, but the results are well worth it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.